We were just at the MTA annual meeting with Brent Christensen. Now we heard you talk about 3 pieces of legislation. Why don't you talk about those 3 pieces, first with the competition one, which seems to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, we have a bill that is progressing through the legislature. We call it the competitive market regulation. And basically what it does is if a company can petition the Public Utilities Commission and demonstrate that they have competition in their serving areas, then they get regulated like their competitors. Right now, ILECs in Minnesota are regulated with a more heavy hand or a little more regulation than their CLEC competitors. This doesn't do anything in the competition against wireless or VoIP providers, but just our wireline-based CLEC competitors. And so we think it's a very modest, very just toe in the water type approach, but it's a step to prove that there is competition.
And it levels the playing field, really. So once you're at a certain level, everyone's playing under the same rules, right?
Well, not everybody, but certainly some more competitors, and certainly more than what we've got today. Yeah.
And how does that work? There are some criteria. I remember it's like 50% was some threshold.
Yeah, there's 2 tests. One of them is if you can demonstrate to the Public Utilities Commission that you've lost 50% of your customer base in a given serving area, then that's deemed you have competition. The other one is it's actually a list of criteria that demonstrate that you have at more than 50% of your consumers have choices to get service from other providers. So if you pass one of those 2 tests, then you're deemed to be competitive and you're regulated as a competitive local exchange carrier.
And this is based on telephone lines, or is it broadband?
Yeah, this only has to do with telephone lines. This has nothing to do with broadband whatsoever. So as people are cutting the cord and getting rid of landlines, there are some people out there that want to keep their thumb on the ILECs until there are no more ILEC lines.
And speaking of competition, one of the challenges is getting more broadband out there, how you do it quickly, and railroad crossings is a big issue, and you talked about the Kevin Larson bill.
Yeah, we fondly refer to it as the Kevin Larson bill, but it's really a great example about how MTA membership really drives the policy. Kevin brought a problem to us, as did a couple other people, that they were getting charged $10, $20, $30, $40,000 for railroad crossings, and under statute they're only allowed to be compensated for the diminished use of their facilities. Well, we directionally bore these days. There's no diminished use, so they should get nothing. We do have an agreement where it's kind of a gentleman's agreement that we pay them a flat $750. That gets changed every time they change personnel, so we're trying to get that and put into statute. South Dakota's done that. Iowa's done similar legislation, so it's not a big, huge step. And as a matter of fact, I'm leaving here for a little bit to go to the Capitol to testify on that bill in a Senate committee today.
And there's a 3rd piece of legislation.
Yep, there's a 3rd piece of legislation that we're working on, and that is to get 2 years ago, we lost the sales tax exemption on central office equipment. Last year, that was put back, and it was expanded to all telecom equipment except for wire, poles, cable, fiber, and conduit. So we have a bill moving through the legislature this session that will reinstate those items. And those, fiber and conduit's how we deploy broadband, and so that's important for us to get that replaced.
And I would assume it applies to any kind of deployment, whether it's for a cable TV network, for CLEC, whatever. Right?
That's absolutely correct. The first bill that we have relates to just landline telephone service, so that just pretty much applies to ILECs. The other 2 bills are industry-wide. I mean, it doesn't, on the railroad bill and also the sales tax bill, that is technology agnostic, and it is provider agnostic, so it can be anything.
Well, and that's one thing that I think Steve Katka mentioned about your ability to kind of bring different groups together to kind of solve these problems. You've done a great job of that.
Well, thank you. It's not just me, obviously. It's a whole bunch of people, but we're really proud of the All Minnesota Broadband Alliance. It's a loose, informal group that we put together that has the cable folks, some CLECs, wireless carriers, Minnesota High Tech Association, and our organization. And we've got a lot more in common than we have apart, and so we can focus on what we have in common and really get things done and move across. And so it's a great group to work with. I thoroughly enjoy working with those folks, and we've done some good things together.
Excellent. Well, I know you've got to run off. I appreciate your time and being here again.
Not a problem. Anytime.